Gog and Magog would thus create and sustain a world order that could not possibly escape being recognized by those whose spiritual vision built on faith and righteous conduct permitted them to see the reality of things. If the Jewish people allowed such a people to become the champions who would liberate for them the Holy Land and permit their return to Jerusalem, it would indicate that the Jewish people were spiritually blind. From the time of medieval Euro-Christendom to the age of modern Western civilization, Europe has progressively displayed the characteristics of the world order of Gog and Magog, and has also fulfilled their basic mission. Europe has corrupted the whole world, and Europe it was which brought the Jews back to the Holy Land. It is, therefore, an indication of the utter spiritual blindness of the Jewish people that they allowed themselves to be deceived and led down the road to their final destruction by Gog and Magog. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has provided for us a measure by which we can monitor the countdown to the time of the final punishment of the Jews. Firstly, this final punishment will not take place until Jesus, the true Messiah, kills Dajjal, the false Messiah, and until Allah Most High Himself destroys Gog and Magog through biological warfare. That moment cannot come while still there is water left in the Sea of Galilee. Consider the following hadith, narrated Al-Nawas ibn Salman. It will be under such conditions that Allah will reveal to Jesus these words: I have brought forth from among my servants such people against whom none will be able to fight. You take these people safely to Tor, and then Allah will send Gog and Magog, and they will swarm down from every slope. The first of them will pass the lake of Tiberias, the Sea of Galilee, and drink out of it. And when the last of them passes, he will say, there was once water there. Sahih Muslim. It is therefore a matter of supreme importance that we direct attention to the water level in the Sea of Galilee. Jerusalem in the Quran. By Imran N. Hossein. Part 1. Chapter 11. The Jews and the Arabs. You will find time and again that the most hostile of all people to the believers, Muslims, would be the Jews and those who are idol worshippers, or pagans. And nearest among them in love to the believers would be those who say, we are Christians, because amongst these are men devoted to learning and men who have renounced the world, and they are not arrogant. Quran Al-Maida 5-82. Before we return to an examination of the most ominous of divine prophecies that has already been fulfilled, that is, that Allah Most High will bring the Jewish people back to the Holy Land, when the last countdown for their punishment begins, it is necessary for us to look at the subject of Ishmael alayhi al-salam, the Arabs and the Holy Land. The subject is important since the Zionist movement achieved the restoration of the State of Israel by forcing an exodus of Arabs from the land and from their homes. They could not have dared to do that without some scriptural justification. However, that scriptural justification on which they relied was a falsehood and a forgery that was perpetrated in the name of the God of Abraham, alayhi al-salam. The Zionists knew that it was a falsehood, and they exploited it to the hilt. It is that subject which we now address in this chapter. The Jewish religious view of an Arab. The spiritual leader of Israel's Orthodox Shas Party of Sephardic Jews reportedly declared in his sermon on August 5, 2000, the Ishmaelites Arabs are all cursed evildoers, all enemies of Israel. The Holy One, blessed be He, regrets that He created these Ishmaelites. The report described Rabbi Ovadia Yosef ridiculing the efforts of the then Barak government of Israel to reach some kind of an agreement with the Palestine Liberation Organization in their mutually conflicting claims to the sacred city of Jerusalem. Why divide the old city? He asked, so that they can have another opportunity to kill us? Why do we even need them alongside us? Addressing Israeli Prime Minister Barak, the rabbi added, you bring snakes next to us. How can you make peace with the snake? Barak is running amok after the wicked Ishmaels. He will bring us snakes to live next to us in Jerusalem. He has no sense. The Jerusalem Post reported that the rabbi's remarks were greeted with applause. See www.jerusalempost.com August 5, 2000. One reason for the rabbis' hostility toward the Ishmaelite people, Arabs, and to their claim to Jerusalem is that the book of Genesis in the Torah declared Ishmael to be a wild ass of a man, his hand against every man, and everyone's hand against him. Genesis 16:12. The rabbi and his followers are thus likely to argue that the relentless and escalating oppression visited upon the Arabs by the state of Israel is justified as a divine sanction. As conveyed in the ominous words, everyone's hand is against him. How else can the rest of the civilized world explain the ruthless and barbaric Israeli attack on the Jenin refugee camp? Had the Jews not rewritten the Torah with the addition of this falsehood against Ishmael alayhi al-salam, the son of Abraham alayhi al-salam, it would have been easier to discern the deception involved in the devilish Zionist scheme to dispossess the Arab Muslims of the Holy Land in order to restore the state of Israel. The description of Ishmael alayhi al-salam, the prophet of Allah Most High, that is given in the Quran, clearly reveals this statement of the Torah to be a lie against Allah Most High. Also mentioned in the book, the story of Ishmael, he was strictly true to whatever he promised, and he was an apostle and a prophet. He used to enjoin on his people prayer and charity, and he was most acceptable in the sight of his Lord. Quran, Maryam 19:54-5. And commemorate Ishmael, Elisha, and Dul-Kifl. Each of them was of the company of the good. This is a message of admonition. And verily, for the righteous is a beautiful place of final return. Quran, Sad 38:48-49. That was the reasoning about us which we gave to Abraham to use against his people. We raise whom we will degree after degree, for thy Lord is full of wisdom and knowledge. We gave him Isaac and Jacob, all three we guided, and before him we guided Noah, and among his progeny, David, Solomon, Job, Joseph, Moses, and Aaron, and Zachariah and John and Jesus and Elias, all in the ranks of the righteous, and Ishmael and Elisha and Jonas and Lot. And to all we gave favor above the nations, to them, and to their fathers and progeny and brethren, we chose them, and we guided them to a straight way. These were the men to whom we gave the book and authority and prophethood. If these their descendants reject them, behold, we shall entrust their charge to a new people. Who reject them not, those were the prophets who received Allah's guidance. Copy the guidance they received. No just estimate of Allah do they make when they say, nothing doth Allah send down to man by way of revelation. Say, who then sent down the book that Moses brought as a light and guidance to man? But ye make it into separate sheets for show, while you conceal much of its contents. And this Quran is a book which we have revealed, bringing blessings and confirming the revelations which came before it, that thou may warn the mother of cities and all around her. Quran, Al-An'am 6:83-92. The rabbi should beware of this dire warning given in the Quran to all those who attribute lies to Allah Most High, including lies concerning Ishmael and the Ishmaelites. Who can be more wicked than one who concocts a lie against Allah, or says, I have received inspiration when he hath received none, or again who says, I can reveal the like of what Allah hath revealed? If you could but see how the wicked do fare in the flood of confusion at death. The angels stretch forth their hands, saying, Yield up your souls. This day shall you receive as your reward a penalty of shame, for you used to tell lies against Allah, and scornfully reject his signs. Quran, Al-An'am 6-93. The rabbi, and all those whose beliefs are based on such forgeries in the Torah, live in an unreal world. Their perception of reality is false and distorted. The damage done was that it created, and still sustains, a false belief concerning Ishmael alayhi al-salam above. At no time does the Torah offer any evidence of evil, misconduct, or rebellion on the part of Ishmael alayhi al-salam that could explain that harsh, allegedly divine condemnation. Rather, the same Ishmaelites whom the rabbi now despises as snakes offered the Jews residence amongst them for 2,000 years. They enjoyed security for their lives and property, and were given freedom to live and worship as Jews. Those who supported, and still support, the creation of the impostor state of Israel, a secular, nationalist, essentially godless enterprise on foundations of injustice and oppression, are a people with no spiritual insight at all. The same spiritual blindness which render them incapable of recognizing this impostor state. That spiritual blindness also led them to declare that Mary had committed fornication, that Jesus the Messiah was a bastard child, and that his claim to be the Messiah was false. It also led them to commit the most disgraceful and evil deed ever in history, that is, to attempt to crucify Jesus alayhi al-salam, and then to boast that they had succeeded in killing him. That spiritual blindness caused them to reject the last prophet sent to mankind by the God of Abraham, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It led them to reject the Quran as the word of the God of Abraham, Most High. Their spiritual blindness has led them, time and again, to commit deeds that have provoked the anger of Allah Most High. Their present racial, financial, and economic conduct is manifestly abominable. When they insulted Moses alayhi al-salam a long time ago, and declared that he and his Lord should fight to liberate the Holy Land while they would remain where they were, Allah Most High responded to this abominable conduct by making the Holy Land haram prohibited for them for 40 years, and by consigning them to wander in distraction through the earth. Then Allah Most High addressed Moses alayhi al-salam and said to him, "Do not grieve over these sinful people. There is no place for sympathy in those words." Even if the world did not have the Quran pointing to forgeries written into the divine Torah, spiritual insight should have sufficed for the followers of the Torah and Bible to sense that all was not right with statements such as the one concerning Ishmael. And so they did not deserve sympathy at that time. And for precisely the same reason they do not deserve sympathy now. Their time is up. Their fate is sealed. They have been deceived into the grandest deception history has ever witnessed, deceived into leaving the lands where they had lived amongst the Arab Ishmaelites in relative peace, security and religious freedom for 2,000 years. Yemen, Morocco, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Syria, etc., and to returning to the Holy Land to support oppression and injustice. Ominously so, that oppression increases day by day. Muslims did not deceive them. Muslims did not invite them to return. The Quran declares that the God of Abraham himself ordained their return. The same God, Most High, who twice ordained the destruction of the temple masjid built by Solomon alayhi al-salam, will himself ensure the destruction of the impostor state of Israel. On the day that such occurs, and it is inevitable, the greatest divine punishment ever visited upon any people in history will unfold before their horrified eyes. Let the rabbi take warning. The same distorted perception of reality that is clearly visible in the statement of the rabbi is also visible in the two negotiating partners who have negotiated, in an exercise in futility, the future of Jerusalem and the Holy Land, that is, the PLO and the State of Israel. In their case, however, they both display total ignorance of, or disregard for, the Quran and the Torah as sources of guidance pertaining to the subject. They have more in common with each other than either has with the religions of Islam or Judaism. They are both secular nationalist movements that exploit religion. Secular nationalism has no appetite for the search for absolute truth. Perhaps some ingenious compromise will be achieved pertaining to the Palestinian demand for East Jerusalem as the capital of their Palestinian state. But if and when that Palestinian state is established, it will be a replica of the secular nationalist Jewish state of Israel. The Holy Land would then be more fully confirmed as part of the new world order of shirk that emerged from modern Western civilization. Shirk is manifestly committed when sovereignty is located in the state rather than with Allah Most High. Shirk is committed when the state is vested with supreme authority, and when the law of the state is the supreme law. The most brazen-faced display of shirk we have ever encountered was a proposal which the US government presented to seek to resolve the conflicting positions of the Israeli government and the plow regarding the site in which is located the masjid built by Solomon, now known to Muslims as Al-Haram al-Sharif, and to Jews as the Temple Mount. The US plan would have given to the State of Israel sovereignty over the Western Wall, or Wailing Wall. The Jews recognize it as a remnant of the original Temple Masjid built by Solomon. The Palestinian state, on the other hand, would have had sovereignty over Masjid al-Aqsa and the Masjid of Omar known as the Dome over the Rock. And the God of Abraham alayhi al-Salam would have had to be contented with sovereignty over the rest of Al-Haram al-Sharif. Shirk is committed when the state proceeds to declare halal what Allah Most High made haram, and vice versa. It is as certain as the sun rises in the east that the future Palestinian state will legalize gambling and lotteries, and even establish state-sponsored lotteries. It will legalize riba, that is, the lending and borrowing of money on interest. It will legalize the consumption of alcohol. In other words, the Palestinian state will embrace shirk in precisely the same way that Jewish Israel and the rest of the world, including most of the Muslim world, have already done. A Palestinian state established by the plow would also visit upon its people the same decadence that today pervades the secular Jewish state, as well as most of the rest of the world. Muslims cannot, and should not, lend their support to any agreement, such as the recent Saudi plan, which seeks to legitimize the secular nationalist state of Israel and accept its 50 years of oppression upon the indigenous people of Palestine, Christians as well as Muslims. Nor should Muslims accept in the Holy Land the establishment of a Palestinian state that would be but a replica of the Jewish state. This book also seeks to explain the reality to Jews who have so uncritically accepted a secular, nationalist Israel as representative of the glorious state created by David alayhi al-Salam and Solomon alayhi al-Salam. The state of Israel is an impostor that has deceived Jews. Dr. Ismail Raji al-Faruqi, the Palestinian Islamic scholar who was an outspoken critic of Israel and who was murdered in the dark, described Israel as a colonial enterprise, conceived in sin, founded upon outdated concepts of national character and mission, and a militaristic oppressor of indigenous peoples. The indigenous Arab people who were driven from their homes, or had to flee in terror.